Well, 5 years ago today, the world lost Nelson Mandela. Mandela died at his Houghton home after receiving extensive treatment for a lung infection. As the years pass, Madiba's legacy remains as powerful as ever. Well, his granddaughter, Ndileka Mandela, joins us now via Skype this morning. Ndileka, good morning, and thanks for your time. Undoubtedly a very difficult day for you and the family. It has been 5 years, but it doesn't really get any easier, does it? You never get over a loss like this.
No, you never do. You never do, and especially with him, because his values are still espoused. He's still remembered globally. So it's very hard to put him in the past. He's still very much a part of the present.
Give us some idea. Over the past 5 years, since your grandfather's passing, how have the conversations about him evolved, especially within the family, and what you've seen outside of the family? What people from outside have been talking to you about him?
Well, within the family, it is mainly how do we, as the next generation, continue his legacy in whatever form, because, as you know, my grandfather's legacy is one that is larger than life. It's like, I always liken it to an onion. Once you peel one layer, there's another layer. So each one of us has picked up different facets that talk to us. And with me personally, I have elected to continue his legacy through the legacy of my father. As you all know, my father died at a young age, at age 24, and Granddad was not able to bury him. And that's the pain that he died with. And I elected to do that to, one, bring him to the present, because he's stuck in child in all the pictures that you see. But secondly, to continue the legacy of Granddad in the space of education, health, youth development, and also leadership, which is a value-based leadership, which is a program that we launch on Friday. Outside of the family, it is at a time where his legacy is being questioned. Questions about him selling out, which is also why this leadership program has been set up to stimulate dialogue, because one of the components of this leadership, of leading like Mandela, is a component of dialogue, which will be an intergenerational dialogue between the older generation and the younger generation, to get an understanding of where the young generation comes from and where the older generation of Granddad came from, and what context that they find themselves in that made them make the decision that they did.
Now, I heard some criticism, and I think it came from the UDM's Bantu Holomisa, if I heard correctly this morning, saying that the ANC has neglected the legacy. It has undone the work that your granddad has done in all of his years. What do you say to that? Do you think that the ANC has undone, that it has not, continued to keep that flame burning? It has instead dampened it down. What are your views on that?
Well, it has dampened it down. There's no doubt about it, and hence the state capture, and now that we're dealing with the commission because of state capture, so we cannot run away that it has dampened it down, and we have got to go back to the values not only of my grandfather but of his generation, because he was certainly not alone in bringing us to where we are. There's comrades that contributed to our liberation struggle, and it's the values of what I call the founding fathers of our liberation that we have got to go back to. The founding fathers, which are espoused in the founding document of the ANC, the Freedom Charter.
Do you sometimes feel like your granddad's name is used in vain?
Well, well, perhaps to some degree, because I feel that if you have to invoke the spirit of my grandfather, you have got to live and invoke it by living with his values. So if you invoke it and you are doing something contrary to his values, then you are misusing it.
Okay, and I suppose if he was still here, he would have been 100, as we celebrated, and we saw being celebrated throughout the year, and we saw on Sunday night in Ndileka. I mean, could you just imagine him up on that stage with all of these stars, doing his Madiba thing on that stage, and being honored in that way?
Yes, I mean, his spirit, you could feel it at the stadium. It was electric, and to think that the whole world, Africa had converge at FNB to celebrate his legacy, and you just had to feel the pulse at the stadium and the spirit of the people, because Granddad felt also that music unites people as much as sports does. So I could just see it. I mean, Miss Oprah Winfrey talked about him not passing away. He passed through us, and you could feel that spirit permeating our souls and being exuberant in the gathering at FNB on Sunday.
What is the family going to be doing to remember him today? Is there anything special that you've planned?
It's quite a sad day for us, Rebecca. And I mean, my colleague was asking me, what are you doing? I said, for me, after all the interviews, is just to find some quiet space and meditating and remembering him and remembering, because I know right about this time in 2013, I knew it was a matter of hours before his soul departed. So it is to remember what he stood for, in what way can I be really true to his values and carry them forward.
And for you, for Ndileka, what is your fondest memory? And I'm sure there are many, I'm sure there are thousands. What is your fondest memory? What is the one thing you take away from your grandfather?
It is his inane or being bothered by injustices of any kind across the board, be it on a social injustice of inequalities that exist within our society. But my fondest memory is a day I spent with him in Kunu in 2012, and that was prior to him, his health, deteriorating, and us spending time together watching a documentary. It was his documentary, in fact, the Nelson Mandela, The Journey. And it's something that I had always wanted to do with him, watch a movie with him, but that was not to be, because when he came out of prison, he became everybody's grandfather. So that time is crystallized in memory, and is one time I wish that I could freeze time and make it last longer. But it will always leave that indelible mark in my memory, because from time to time, during the difficult parts of that documentary, we would just extend hands and not even talk, but touch. And it was as if he was saying, yes, I know I'm transitioning, but my spirit will always be there for you.
Now, Ndileka, in the days and months, weeks and months after his passing, we saw inklings, we saw little cracks in the family from the various parts and the various generations. How are you now? Are you more united 5 years later? Are those cracks still a bit apparent in those ways? How's the family? Yeah.
No, the family is doing well. I mean, sometimes I feel that the cracks are more of a hype, because in any family, you have disagreements, and that does not mean that you're not getting along. You're just having a difference of opinion. We're not different from any other family. We have our disagreements, but that doesn't mean that we are fighting. And I suppose that exists to time infinite in any family. Yes, we have our disagreements, but we come together whenever it's possible. I mean, Sunday, for instance, at the concert was a case in point. We're all there represented from all sides of the family, from Mama Winnie, from the Evelyn side of the family. We were all there as a united family. That's how we are. We have our fights, we have our joy. You should see us when we're in Kunu. You would swear that it's not it's quite contrary to what the media is saying, that we're fighting all the time. Yes, we have our robust conversation and disagreement, but deep down we do love one another, and we are as united as ever.
And your relationship with Mama Graça Michelle?
It's quite good, actually, because Mama Graça was, for instance, at the launch of the Ndileka Mandela program on Friday last week, where we had the UN Secretary General, Ms. Amina Mohammed, and Mr. Jeff Hadebe, and she always supports whatever it is that we're doing, I'm doing, and also some with members of the family. And we're always together in Kunu. I mean, early this year, in March, we're all in Kunu with Mama Graça.
Okay. Thank you very much for your time, Ndileka Mandela. We'll let you get back to your reflections of your grandfather, Madiba. 5 years since he passed. Today is the day, and a difficult day for the family. Thank you very much for your time.